Yo, welcome to Physics with Vinay. Hi, I'm Vinay and I'm back for season 2. This is the 7th episode in the prediction series, and here I'm going to discuss a question that I had given to you guys to solve in the previous episode. So, this is the question here. Let me just go over the question once. Most of you who have seen my previous episode would have attempted the question. Let me just quickly go over the question. An imperfectly elastic ball is projected in a given direction within a fixed horizontal hoop so as to go on rebounding from the surface of the hoop. So I have a ring that is fixed in the horizontal plane and a ball is colliding against the inner surface of the ring. Find the limit to which the velocity of the ball will approach. So after a long time, we basically want to find the terminal velocity and show that it will attain this limit at the end of a finite time. So I had asked you in the previous episode to also calculate an expression for the time taken for the particle to reach the terminal velocity. Here they are only asking to prove it. I wanted you to derive that expression. So let's take a look at the solution. So I have a ring. This is the top view of the ring, and we are going to assume that the ring and the surface on which the ring is fixed is smooth. So it's like you can just imagine a table on which a ring is placed, and you have a particle that is colliding against the inner surface of the ring. So let's say I have a particle here that is making an angle of incidence theta, and let's say after the first collision the angle of incidence is theta 1. Similarly, the angle of incidence for the second collision will also be theta 1 because of an isosceles triangle being formed, and let's say the angle of reflection after the second collision is theta 2 and so on. Alright, so first off, because the ring is smooth, I'm going to say that there's no force acting tangential to the ring. The only force that will be acting on the ball on impact will be the normal force, or normal impulse. So the momentum in the tangential direction is not going to change. So can I say, let's say the speed is v1 after the first collision. Can I say v1 sine theta 1, which is the component of velocity in the tangential direction, should be equal to the tangential component in the or before the collision. So that will be v sine theta. Then can you see that these two angles will be same because this triangle with these two dotted lines, which are both equal to the radius, will form an isosceles triangle. So these theta 1 will be same, and therefore once again the tangential component at the second impact will be v1 sine theta 1, but that will be equal to v sine theta, which will again be v2 sine theta 2 and so on. I can simply write v2 sine theta 2 at the second impact would be v1 sine theta 1 just before collision, which is still equal to v sine theta. So basically, can you see that the tangential component will remain constant, and the coefficient of restitution is e less than 1, of course, for inelastic collisions. The normal component or the radial component will keep on decreasing by a factor of e, and eventually it will go to 0 because the normal component of the velocity will form a gp that will tend to 0. So effectively in the end, after many collisions, eventually what will happen is that the radial component of velocity will tend to 0, but the tangential component will remain as v sine theta. So that is your terminal velocity. So eventually you'll have the final speed would be v sine theta. So this is your answer, and the direction will be tangential. So the particle will eventually just perform circular motion along the inner surface of the ring. Alright, so this was part 1, and a lot of you in the comment section in the previous episode were able to get this part. Now let's look at the time taken. Let's say that the time taken from the first impact to the second impact is t1. So along the red line, the time taken is t1. The red line, if I say my radius is small r, let's say. So the red line you should be able to see is 2r cos theta 1. The time taken would be 2r cos theta 1 divided by v1. Now I need to find v1 as well as cos theta 1. So let's just write the equation. I already have one equation as v1 sin theta 1 is equal to v sin theta, tangential equating the tangential components. And along the radial direction, I can write v1 cos theta 1 should be e times v cos theta. Basically, this is the definition of coefficient of restitution, the velocity of separation along the normal divided by velocity of approach, the component along the normal. Alright, so I can just square and add to get velocity v1. So if I just square and add both these equations, I'll have v1 is equal to v times sine square theta plus e square cos square theta. And what about cos theta? If I just divide these two equations, the numbered 1 and 2, I'll get tan theta 1 is equal to tan theta by e, and therefore cos theta 1 I can simply write it as 1 by sec square theta, so 1 over root of 1 plus tan square theta 1, just substituting tan theta 1, I'll get it as e times. Alright, so in order to calculate T1, I'm going to substitute cos theta 1 and V1 here. So just for mathematical convenience, I'm going to convert all these tan theta into cot theta. So I can simply write this as e cot theta divided by root of 1 plus e square cot square theta. And V1 would be v sin theta root of 1 plus e square cot square theta. So in order to calculate T1, I'll simply substitute cos theta 1 and V1 in this equation. So I will have 2r by v sin theta e cot theta divided by root of divided by 1 plus e square cot square theta. Alright, so now you can see that this first term 2r by v sin theta, that is a constant for in all collisions, because v sin theta we already saw the tangential component doesn't change. See, the only term that is going to change in the further collisions when we calculate the time between further successive collisions is this second term. So we'll look at that on the next page. Just before we do that, just remember that the relation between cot theta, like cot theta 1 would be e cot theta. Similarly, cot theta 2 would be e times cot theta 1. So that will be e squared cot theta. And therefore, you can just generalize this to cot theta n, which is at the nth impact. That will be e raised to n times cot theta. So this relation here is something that we are going to use on the next page. Alright, so just keep this T1 expression in mind and let's look at the next page. I've just copied the time that we had gotten between two collisions. Alright, now in order to write T2, the first term 2r by v sin theta is going to remain as it is. In the second bracket, what is going to happen is that the angle of impact, or rather angle of incidence at the second impact, is going to be theta 1. So instead of theta here and here, I am going to substitute theta 1. So I'll have e cot theta 1 divided by 1 plus e square cot square theta 1. But we already saw cot theta 1 was e cot theta. So T2 would be 2r by v sin theta. This will become e squared cot theta divided by 1 plus e power 4 cot square theta. Also, I hope you realize what T2 is. T2 here is the time taken to go from the second impact to the third impact. T1 was the time taken to go from the first to the second impact. T2 is the time taken to go from the second to the third impact. Alright, so what about the time taken to go from ith to I plus 1th impact? The time, let's say Ti, would be, just generalizing, So 2r by v sine theta is going to remain as it is, and I'll have e raised to, so for the second impact I have e squared here. You should be able to see that for the ith impact I'll have e raised to I cot theta divided by 1 plus, so here 4 is basically 2 squared, so that will be e raised to 2i cot square theta. So my time taken would be, the total time would be 2r by v sine theta times summation of e raised to I cot theta divided by 1 plus e raised to I cot theta the whole squared. So this is the final expression for the time. And the number of collisions will be infinite. The reason for that is because it will take infinite number of collisions for the radial component of the velocity to come down to 0. So the number of collisions is going to be infinite. I hope you realize that. But the time taken to attain that terminal velocity will be given by this series. Now, as far as I know, we cannot find a closed form for the series. By closed form, I mean I cannot simplify the series into a single algebraic expression. I cannot sum it up. I don't think that is possible. I even consulted two experts in mathematics. One of them was a former batchmate of mine from IIT Bombay, Dr. Bharatwaj Palwanan. He has a PhD in mathematics. And while he was able to tell me that the series is convergent, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute. It's definitely not possible at the JEE syllabus. You may be able to simplify it a little bit by breaking it down into two series, but anyway, that is not relevant to us. So if this question comes in the exam, you will probably get this entire summation as an option. So in your multiple choice, you will have different expressions in the form of this summation. And I also consulted another colleague who's a JEE maths teacher, and even he said that summing this up will not be possible. Anyway, let's look at why this series is convergent. Convergent series means that this time will be finite, not infinite. So that is what the original Cambridge question wanted us to prove. So let's just take a look at that. I'm just going to ignore this term because that is a constant. If I notice here, even cot theta is actually a constant. You can take it out. So basically my summation effectively is summation of e raised to I, where e is less than 1, remember, divided by cot square theta times e raised to 2i. Now, I know summation e raised to I from I equal to 1 to infinity is a finite quantity. Do I know that? Yes, because e raised to e is less than 1. So this is simply a normal or usual GP. That is finite. Now you are dividing e raised to I by a quantity that is greater than 1. This denominator is greater than 1. So of course, if summation of e raised to I is finite, summation of a quantity that is smaller than that will of course be finite. I hope you have understood this, why the series is convergent and therefore the time taken is finite. Unfortunately, we won't be able to find the final value. Alright, so I hope you understood the solution. Now a little bit about what solution they have given in the Cambridge text. Let's just take a look at that. Now here's a solution given in the Cambridge text, and they've done very similar things to what we've done. However, when they were calculating the time values, when they substituted V1 and they substituted V2, this term here and these terms 1 plus e square cot square theta, 1 plus e power 4 cot power 4 theta should have come in the denominator in this term. However, they have placed it in the numerator, which is why they made a mistake of cancelling these two terms out, and they were left with a very nice looking GP, and they were getting a very cute little answer. Unfortunately, it's a very basic calculation error. Just goes to show that it happens, calculation errors can happen to the best of us. I came across this question in this text I liked the question. I decided to give you guys the question to solve. I just skimmed over the solution and just went straight to the final answer, and I saw that it's a nice little cute answer. So I just gave the question for you guys to solve. I should have on my part double checked on my own whether I'm getting this final answer. Lesson learned for you and me as well. Don't ever just blindly trust anyone else's solution, because everyone is prone to make mistakes. Everyone is human. Even the authors of this Cambridge text have made a mistake. Unfortunately, we won't be able to report it because they are not alive anymore. So I would like to thank Anmoldeep Singh in my comment section for alerting me to this point that the series is not getting a closed form. However, the series is convergent, but we won't be able to find the final expression. So the moral of the story, always get the final answer by yourself. Don't trust any textbook, because everyone is human and everyone can make calculation errors here and there. Alright, so just one last thing to add. Why my frequency has dropped a little bit on uploading the videos, because I've been working on something for a long time for you guys. Right now I'm working something for JEE 2022 aspirants. I'm trying to create a course on very unique short methods that I think is not known to most people. Some of them that I have discovered by myself, and I think they'll be very helpful in the exam. So I would say around 70% of the course is done. I'm trying to increase my productivity and get it done by, hopefully, I don't want to put a deadline on it because I may not be able to keep up with my optimistic deadline. But hopefully that course, I'll be able to launch that course very, very soon. And I think it will be a game changer for especially JEE 2022 aspirants. And later on, my plan is to start a full syllabus course for JEE 2023 guys as well. And to be honest, I think it will be pretty unique compared to what I've seen for on YouTube. All the some of the lectures that I've seen, I feel like I have developed methods that are much shorter, and they'll help save you a lot of time and effort when it comes to the exam. Alright, so that's it for today. See you guys. Good night.